be showing you how to collapse and fold my Spirit of Freedom model. We'll be following the crease pattern. It's based on a 40 by 40 grid, and also I'll be throwing in a little bit of design. And especially the shaping at the very end of this video, I'll show you how to shape the wings, and then also the head, the hair, and then the legs are a little bit special because I had to design them on top of each other. You can see right here, these are the two legs, and so I'll show you what at least I did to kind of trick the viewer into thinking the legs actually came from on this side. So let's get started. The very first step is to just crease the paper into a 40 by 40 grid. And so we will have to start by just dividing it into fifths, and then we'll fold each fifth into 8. And so that's the easiest way to fold a 40 by 40 grid. What I do is fold first in half, and then we'll fold a crease from one of the halfway marks to a corner, like this. And you have to make little pinches at the ends, and then once you make those little pinches, you can kind of make a rolling crease where you could fold it flat, kind of adjust to make sure it's really hitting those 2 points, and then you could finally lay it flat. And then for our fifths, actually right here is our fifth. So this little point right here, if we folded it perfectly, it is the fifth of our paper. So right here, what I do is I fold it upside down, and then make that rolling crease and find where that corner is the edge. So you can see that the corner is right here, and I'll hit the edge right about there, and then I'm going to fold across. And then you simply, with our 1/5 right here, I just accordion fold it. And so this is really where you see how accurate you are. I'm using craft, and so I find that craft is actually a lot easier to get a perfect fifth instead of some soft paper like Kozo that I actually used for this one, my original. And so it was hard to get fifths, and so I just had to measure it out. And there are fits. Mine actually aren't too good, but for this model, it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just a simple box pleating and we could hide some wires. So let's do it on the other side, and then we could fold all of the 8s in between. Alright, now that we got our fits, you can see my 5x5 grid. Now, all we need to do is fold each fifth into 8, both ways. And then we'll have our 40x40 grid. Now that we've pre-creased the grid, or at least just folded the grid, we could start with the pre-creasing of the diagonals. And so what I usually do is draw on all of the diagonals that I might want to pre-crease, or I could just go straight into collapsing. But I think it really helps just make sure that you don't make any mistakes and you know where you are in the paper. Because when you start collapsing, things get a little bit confusing, different angles, and when you draw things on, it's just really helpful. So I'm going to draw it on now, but if you want to just start with the collapsing, I'll link the crease pattern down below, but I will also be collapsing this on camera. I have it all written out on my sheet, basically all the diagonal creases. They're a little bit light, but you can kind of see them on frame. So, sometimes with box models, it's not always actually too helpful to totally pre-crease the diagonals, because everything kind of just falls into place anyways. So it might just be a waste of time. But what I'm going to do is basically pre-crease all the major creases. And so up on screen right now, I'll highlight the major creases I will be pre-creasing. But the ones on the edges, you can usually just pinch into existence while you're collapsing. And usually that's just fine. And so, right here, basically the creases in the middle where it's a little bit harder to crease once the model is actually starting to get collapsed is the ones I'm doing. Alright, there are the creases, kind of I pinched up in the air, and then now they're just mountain creases. So, the first step in any box pleating model to begin to collapse is to fold it into a grid. And so if you look at the crease pattern, you can see that most of the lines actually, right down the middle, right here, the kind of middle flats, I fold where kind of that's parallel middle flats, I guess. So you can see right here, these creases run vertical, and so I'm gonna fold my paper vertically, basically just accordion it entirely And then I usually open up the middle because that's where my middle flaps are, and that's where I'm going to start, because I usually work kind of, sometimes you could work from the outside in, but when there's middle flaps and there's a whole bunch of creases that you need to do in the interior of the crease pattern, I usually try to hammer those out, because then on the outsides, that's when you could kind of pinch everything and everything falls into place then. And so right now I'm just going to accordion fold it vertically so that it sets me up to collapse the middle flaps. Alright, I readjusted the camera so it's a little bit closer to the model. And now what we're going to do is pinch more of those creases into existence to create that box pleated pattern. And so when you're doing a collapse, you kind of have to pinch a bunch of different creases all at once so that it's kind of flat, and it's easier to collapse this way, where you kind of do, where you do each crease at a certain time, and you don't do, I guess, one side at once. You do one side and then you go over to the other side, you pinch those creases, and then you go back to the other side, and that way everything collapses very nicely. So now you can see that I'll start on this side. Right here. And I'll create that one big mountain fold. And then you can see the tip of the flap is right here. And then you pinch these creases, and you make that accordion. And you want to continuously be analyzing the crease pattern just to make sure you're doing everything right and you aren't, because it's very easy to kind of, I guess, be one unit off or do something else. And so when you continuously look at the crease pattern, or better yet, you could just write directly on your paper. And so this is just a teaching model for me, but if you'll be displaying this model, you could probably use a very light pencil and it'll be fine. So I'm still doing each side. I'm back on the second side right here, and then I still need to pinch these creases into existence. And so usually when I collapse models like this, box pleating models, I do one flap, one appendage at a time, because then that creates more, I guess, of your scaffolding folds, the horizontals and the verticals, and it's easier to collapse everything else once one flap is in place. And so we're doing the middle flap right now, and later we'll go to this flap down here, and then the outside ones. And so you can see the pattern is starting to arise. And the flap is starting to form a little bit just at the very tip. Alright, there's the tip of the flap right there, and that will be the belly of the model. Alright, so there is the first, I guess, 2 boxes in the crease pattern, or just the very top. And so you can already see the wings, the pleats of the wings forming up here. We'll be shaping them later. And so now what I'm going to do is actually start on the edge. And so you can see the crease right there. So right here, in the crease pattern, is this right here going down. And so I'm going to start with this crease. And this is where the entire flap, you can see that just by doing that diagonal, you can see the flap taking shape and all those pleats that will form the wings of the angel. So you might wonder why there's this little flap or indent right here. And that was in order to give more flaps to the wings and basically make the wings bigger in terms of how many pleats there are. Because when you add that flap, you kind of add a, you shorten up the actual flap itself, but then because you're kind of indenting it, it gives you a little bit more room to add more pleats up here, and the intersection of this diagonal to the edge is, I guess, further down in the crease pattern. And so from a design standpoint, that's why there is that little notch. And so there actually will be a notch in the actual model, which we'll hide later in order to pivot the wings out and forward. Let's see right here. We are making the notch, you can see. And see, now we have to go to the other side and do the same thing because things are not lined flaps. So I'm actually going to start with the final middle flap right here. So now I'm working right here on this middle flap, and this will really help the outside edge, and then also bring everything together so that it actually lies flat. So I start on both sides. I create that one mountain fold emanating from the center, and then kind of just make that crease. So now I'm starting with the very bottom of the model, and I'm finishing up here. And so now I go down here and I finish up the middle, and then we could go on to the very, very bottom of the model. are about to be on the finish line of the collapse. And so this is what about, you can see the middle flaps that we started, and then now we're just working our way out to the edges. Just like so. Alright, so there is the entire collapse. I hope me doing it on camera was a little bit helpful. I know I didn't say too much, but you could see the model from here, where this is the head, this is the top of the crease pattern. It's basically just a flap for now. Later, when we actually shape, I'll actually put in those extra flaps, but right now I just extended them into a simple flap. And then you can see the wings back here. You can see the hinges and that little flap I told you about right here, and then all these pleats that will become the wings. These two flaps right here are the arms, right here, and then right here are the two legs. And you can see what I was talking about, the fact that it's a little bit weird that the legs are on top of each other instead of side by side, but we could shape it in a way that will work. So that is the entire model collapsed. We will now start shaping. So when you shape, I really like to use these binder clips because I find it really helpful to keep everything organized, and also it helps to kind of, after you collapse, some creases are fresh and new, and so by binder clipping them, it keeps everything flat and shut, just like this. And so right now I just binder clip the wings and the arms because those will be folded up and back, and we'll be working right now on the head. So now you can see a little bit clearer of what the base looks like. This is the head, this is the stomach. This is what we, I guess, started on. And then down here are the two legs. So let's start with the chest. And so here's the original model. And you can see that we want to put this middle flap up, alright? And then I usually fold it down. You could already kind of see the resemblance to the original model. And then, it's not exact, but we'll put a little bit, but you want to fold up about 1 unit or 1.5 units, and then fold down, and the entire body itself will be 4.5 units long. Just like that. Alright, and then to create kind of the chest, I want to pull a little bit of paper out. So what I'm gonna do, you could open it up. Here's the chest, and you could go from the side. You could open it up and just pull a little bit of paper from that behind pleat, because we'll be doing a little bit. We'll be making a few pleats, and by pulling out just a little bit of paper and making that rolling crease, will be giving us a little bit of extra room so that after we actually pleat everything, it will be the same size as we started with. I don't know if that makes sense, but extra room so that we could pleat it, create some definition of the body, and the actual size of the chest doesn't change all too much. So you can see right here that I just took out just a teeny tiny bit of paper. And so I'm going to do that right here. And this is by no means flat foldable at all. It's just taking a little bit of paper, folding it like that, giving us a little extra room. Alright, so let's see. Alright, let's start with the wing. I was doing a little bit of testing on this side just to make sure that the process is right. So, we're gonna work on right here. There's this little bit, there's this little river between the actual body and the arm and the wing. And so I used this as just a little bit of freedom so that it makes it look like the arm is a little bit longer, but then also it connects to the wing, and so it's a little bit more efficient that I designed it this way. So with the wing right here, what we're gonna do is first, if you see right here, there's a series of pleats going down just like this. We're gonna make that pleat right now to create that kind of sense where there's this first layer of wings or feathers, and then there's the second layer of feathers. So down here, we want to find the third unit from the edge. So right here, you can see my third unit, 1, 2, 3. I want to find it, and then kind of mountain fold it. But then also, you're gonna find, I guess, the 2.5 from the edge, and that's where we'll be folding down on. So the 3 unit as our mountain, and then on the 2.5 we'll be doing the valley to complete the pleats all the way down through the entire flap, so that we have that second layer of feathers. And then with these horizontal pleats, you're just going to want to refold them with that pleat inside. Be very careful that the pleat doesn't undo itself, because sometimes it does that when you're doing the pleats. and you're just reinstating the plate. Alright, so there it is. The plate for the wing. And so this notch actually back here has a little purpose because it serves as the extra paper that we'll need to fan out all the pleats. If we didn't have this little pocket of extra paper, the fanning out actually wouldn't work and all the pleats would come from one place. And so you can see the wing I made, it looks like the pleats come from different places. And so this is what this little notch of paper does. It allows us to make it look like the pleats come from different places. Or I guess they're just staggered. So, I'm going to fold the arm across the body like this. And then now we have this wing with the pleat like that. And then the little notch back there. What we're going to do, just for starters, is just fold this wing down. There's a little place where the paper starts getting thick. We're just going to fold it right before that. Alright? And then this is kind of where the hard part starts, is where we're going to need to open up this little pocket of paper, and then also we're going to create a mountain fold that will help us pleat the entire wing. So, locate the edge of the paper again right here, and then count 4 units, not including the pleats. So 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. That's where the top of our wing is going to be. Alright, so little pleat, little pleat, little pleat, and then what you're going to want to do, you can see that just by pleating everything, that little pocket of paper just naturally opened up. That's what we want to create this flap. So open up everything, and we're going to have to do a lot of kind of reconfiguring and a lot of just the rolling crease and creating everything nicely. So what we're going to do is, here is the base of our wing. We're going to want to create just a little pocket like that. Do you see that right here? I'm talking about it right here, where this is the edge of the wing, and then there's just a little pocket. 4th unit, you're going to want to close it up, and if you can, you could shimmy the crease a little bit further away from that, so it's kind of staggered. Do you see that? This pleat right here, and then this pleat right here. They aren't right on top of each other, they're just staggered. Then we're going to go to the next pleat. What we're going to do, this is what it looks like from the very top. We're going to want to fold it, pinch it, then stagger it again. Just like that. Alright. And then we're going to want to do that for the next pleat. And this is by no means flat foldable. That's why this isn't in the crease pattern, because just this wouldn't work if I wanted to draw it as a crease pattern sometimes. Alright, so we're going to continue our stagger. Make sure you just press everything down, make sure it won't budge. And we're going to go on to the next pleat. So you're going to want to pinch that into existence, create that mountain fold, and then it'll fold very nicely like that. Let's get it flat. You can see that it's staggered like that. Alright, we're going to do that again. We're going to go to the top, we're gonna find that crease where that pleat is gonna be formed, just like this. Then we're gonna stagger it. And if this process works for you, you could even start angling it like I'm doing right here. Fan it out, not just so the pleats are parallel to each other, but the pleats are now angled to each other, like that. Alright, we're gonna go for the next pleat. Open it up. You might have to adjust, work with the paper, make sure that it isn't going to rip, or there aren't a ton of extra creases, just like that. Let's put this crease right here. You have to continuously adjust to make sure that everything lies. It's not going to really lie flat just yet, because you can see right here that shape. Alright, we're going to do it again. We're going to pinch that crease into existence, and then pinch that pleat, and then simply just lie it flat like that. And again, I'm folding it at an angle so that in the end our wing will look like this. It kind of, you could see a slight fan out. It's not, all the pleats aren't exactly parallel with each other. So just like that. Alright, you're going to want to do it one more time. Like this. And then this is a little bit weird. This is only a half pleat. So what I do is kind of shape it, and then I try to pleat it like all the rest. But it's a little bit hard. Alright. So there is our wing. We're gonna try to fold it flat now. Just work with it, make sure it compresses. Sometimes I guess you didn't use, quote, all the paper. So the paper that you didn't use off that little notch will re-bundle up when you open it. And continuously just press. Right now I'm just evening out the pleats, making sure that they aren't totally out of control. I might have to do a little bit of readjusting. For mine, my pleats are a little bit uneven, just like this. So I'm going to simply take away some of that paper from each pleat. Let's see. Alright. That looks decent right there. So there is my wing. You can see that it has a slight curve up, just like the wing in my finished model. And then of course we have that pleat going through the middle that we will do a series of reverse folds to create that second layer of feathers. And you can see I didn't use actually the entire little notch of paper, so what was left is kind of right there. So I'm going to open up the wing. Of course this is flat foldable by no means, because there are a ton of extra creases in there that make it kind of where I just shut it close. Alright, and there it is. There is, hopefully you have a completed wing. Like this. Let's see. So, for the hair creases, what you're going to want to do is just pop open the left diagonal, and then you'll find this little pocket, and you'll want to, this is where the drawing really helps. You know exactly where the hair creases are supposed to be. So on mine, right here, this is already kind of folded, and then you're gonna want a bunch of these diagonals. So there's gonna be a cross right here, there's gonna be one right here, and so really you kind of just pinch them into existence. And folding it up is a little bit difficult, but once you pinch them into existence, so now on the right side, you're going to want to pop it open, just like this. And then alright, so now that we're done with the head and all its features, we could start with the arms, the final part, and we could kind of bring everything together. So we'll do a little bit more of the head. We still need a little middle flap, but let's go to the arms. So you can see that there's, off of the base, there's just this one big flap with a small 1 unit flap, and then a big one. This big one, after the 1 unit flap, is actually the torch. And so what we're going to want to do to kind of shape the torch is, it's really nice if you have really thin paper, but it's not really needed because just pinching does the trick for this. It's not a super tight insect, it's just like a torch. And so pinch, kind of compress everything together to keep it clean, just like this. So rabbit ear, pinch, and then now what we're gonna do, we're gonna fold it down, and then about halfway up the torch, we're gonna fold it up. And this just worked nicely because both of these torches kind of end up at the corner. So I was able to get such a long flap. And so it is a little bit inefficient to fold it down and then up instead of just doing 2 flaps, that one is going up, one is going down. I don't know if that makes sense, but instead of designing one flap that goes up and one flap that kind of goes down, I'm doing one large flap. And through a design standpoint, it just made sense on the crease pattern. And then you fold out the flames. So we're going to fold out the flames just like this. The flames are out. You could give it a little bit of curl if you want to, just to add a little bit of shaping to the model itself. And then now we have a hand. Okay, we have our torch, and then we have our arm, and then that 1 unit flap actually is the hand down. So what we're gonna do is shape the hand. So back here, you could make almost like a little wrist, and then keep the torch in his little hand. I'm rabbit earing the hand downward, the arm, and then the hand comes up where the elbow is going to be. Keep pinching his wrist, and then you got a very simple version of a hand just like that, holding a torch. You can see that. Very simple arm with a torch. I'm going to do that on the other side now. If you need to use a little bit of menthol cellulose or some type of adhesive, that's okay, because the torch will be hard to stay down. And then right here you could see that in the crease pattern it's actually a little bit different, because it's, instead of 2 short flaps, it's just 1 long flap that comes off of everything. So you can see right here it's the same 1 unit hand, but then now we have this flap and then we just have 1 branch coming off of it instead of 2 like we did over here. And that's because this is going to be a plant instead of a torch. But really, anything will do. For this model was originally supposed to be a statue in France called the Spirit of Freedom, but it could be a Valkyrie. Any shaping you would want goes, because this is art. This is what origami is supposed to be like when you get to design and then you get to collapse everything. Every single time someone folds a model like this is different, and so that's kind of the beauty of everything when you fold something like this. So about that, it could be a little plant, it could be whatever that's in his hand. You want to fold that arm down again, and you want to create a wrist and an elbow. Wrist, elbow. You can't do a whole ton else on this. You could try to create a little bicep with the paper inside, but this is all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do simple hands like that. Make the elbow on this side. Let's see. And now we could put everything together. I'm gonna try to push in my river because we don't need that degree of freedom anymore. It's kind of just awkward in the model. So you try to hide it just like that, where it actually now looks like the arm is coming from the shoulder. All right, you do that again on this side, where this 1 unit river, we will push it, we'll try to push it inside so that the hand is coming from the elbow, just like that. All right, so we are almost complete. I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna put a little bit of adhesive for the torch, and then I'll show you how to create the head, the hair, and we are done. All right, we are just about finished. Now we just need to work on the head, and then we're basically done. So for the head, what I did was I needed just a middle flap to create a defined neck and kind of a jawline. So what I did right here, so it's this flap right here where, let's see, there's gonna be the hairline right here, and then you have the head, and then 1 unit until the middle flap. So for the middle flap, it might be helpful to make pre-creases along diagonals like this. And then along those diagonals, you're going to want to push out the paper. So that it creates a defined jawline. So right here, we're popping it open, and we're just simply creating a middle flap. This isn't in the crease pattern. I usually just do this by designing a longer neck than what is needed, and then I go in later and I put in the jaw. Alright, so then now this is a little bit bigger of a neck than I would like, so I simply just pinch it back. Let's see. You pinch the neck back so that you create the head. You could open things up, do whatever you need to do to shape the angel into a figure, a completed figure. Let's see how that looks. Alright, and then for the hair, what we're going to do is simply just fold it out like you see right here. You're going to fold it out like this. Get this middle flap. You're going to fold it out. Fold it out. Alright. Get this middle flap. Pivot it so that it looks like this. And then this side flap. Open it up. Alright, and then simply just shape the neck so that it looks like a completed figure. I'm going to do a little bit more shaping of everything. Shape out the neck, get the arms out, and then we are almost done. And that is basically the completed Valkyrie, or the angel. Let's see that the head, I further shaped the neck and the face with the middle flap. You kind of just pinch it along the bottom. And then the hair and the hands, they're hard to place, but you could either do this position, any position is fine. For pictures, I like to do it where one is up and one is down because that creates a good contrast between any background. And then the wings always look pretty nice. I like to have them forward, but if you think it looks better just backwards or like this, anyway. But with that, thank you for watching. I know this was a long tutorial, but it is a really cool model that I hope you enjoyed folding.